How Peter Stringfellow amassed a fortune of nearly £40 million thanks to his string of nightclubs. Colourful nightclub owner Peter Stringfellow, who died aged 77 from cancer, amassed a fortune of nearly £40 million over a career spanning 6 decades. Stringfellow, who was raised in a Sheffield suburb at the height of the Blitz that he dubbed sspoor, was a self-confessed risk-taker who booked the Beatles when they were starting out and who introduced nude table dancing to Britain. The flamboyant personality kept his businesses going for 6 decades despite changing tastes and entertainment styles. He recovered from major setbacks, such as his disastrous foray into America during the 1990s recession. His clubs in Miami and Los Angeles left him in huge debt. Discussing that in an interview in 2016, he said, "I just wanted to make money. I never had some wonderful idea, even a plan. I've been bankrupt a couple of times, but you've got to lose money to understand how great it is to make it. You have to fail. But right now, I'm winning, life is pretty good." Stringfellow, the eldest of 4 boys, was brought up in Sheffield by the women in his family after the men went to war. He started working at 15 and had jobs as a steel worker and in a movie theater before a 2-year stint in the Royal Navy. He was briefly in prison for selling stolen carpets before shifting his focus to nightclubs. He often said his time in jail was the spark that led to his later success. Stringfellow's first venture was the Black Cat Club in Sheffield, where he hosted such acts as Jimi Hendrix, Tina Turner and Stevie Wonder. He liked to boast that he spotted the Beatles early and booked them for a pittance even though they had a #1 hit by the time they performed at his club in 1963. Other legendary Stringfellow clubs were Cinderella Rockefeller's in Leeds and the Millionaire Club in Manchester. In 1980, Stringfellow then signed a 25-year lease on Stringfellow's in Covent Garden, describing it as the world and #X27's premier gentleman and #X27's club. He spent £1 million refurbishing it, and by his own admission was a real maverick with his finances. Discussing that in a newspaper interview, he said, "It was a wild risk. This was a time when Covent Garden was considered and #X27 the wrong end of town and #X27, but I was from up north and didn't #X27 care about that. I spent £1 million refurbishing it, which was a phenomenal sum then." The club, which has hosted A-listers including Prince, Marvin Gaye, Rod Stewart and Tom Jones, is still open today. He then purchased the Hippodrome, a struggling Leicester Square music hall, where he hosted the UK's first gay disco night. The nightclub owner bought it for £3.5 million in 1984 and sold it for double the amount 6 years later. Despite those successes, Stringfellow failed to replicate his success when he branched out into New York, Los Angeles and Miami. He said, "After the recession in the 1990s, I was hit hard and the move into lap dancing was a commercial one, as I and #X27 overstretched myself and I saw a void for a high-class adult club." He described his decision to open Stringfellow's in Beverly Hills as his worst ever decision, adding it was a £5 million disaster. The businessman said, "Despite being packed with celebs, the takings were in and #X27 good, because celebs expect a lot of things to be complimentary, so even though they bring publicity to a club, that does and #X27 translating to earnings." In 1996, tableside dancing opened for 3 nights a week in Covent Garden. Stringfellow was the first person to gain a fully nude license from Westminster Council. He opened a second adult entertainment club called Angels, on Wardour Street, in 2006, but sold it a decade later. Discussing that, he said, "My landlord made me a very good offer, in the millions of course, for me to leave. I didn't want to run this as a nightclub, so someone else is coming in and doing it. I'm in the adult entertainment business." He launched the Stringfellow lingerie range in 2016 and talked about opening a virtual reality strip club. Stringfellow, who once lost £47,000 on a game of poker, said his most indulgent purchase was a boat for £500,000. He had largely removed himself from the public spotlight in recent years as he coped with cancer, and split his time between Gerrards Cross, Italy and Majorca, where he kept his boat.